All right. Good morning. This is June the 24th, 2020, hearing for the Executive Appointments Committee. I'm Councilman Stokes, Chairman of the committee. The committee members in attendance are Vice Chair of this committee, Councilman Burnett from the 8th District. Also, committee member, Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark from the 14th District. From the President's office, we have Dominic McAlley. From the mayor's office, we have Leah Themlis, and the chairman, the committee chair, staff person are returning. Also today, Kimberly Gray will be rescheduled to another day. So we are going to start off in this order with Carrie Davis, the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, then we'll do Alan Levine, and then ethics will have Arnold Sampson.
Hey, Mr. Chair. It's been going.
Before we, oh, yeah. All right, okay. Councilman Cohen from the first district also, who's a member of this committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we hear from the nominee, I'm asking all the persons to mute yourself when you're not speaking. Identify yourself before you speak. Speak slowly and clear. And if you're connecting online, please use the raise hand to indicate you'd like to speak. Is President Jack, is he on? I don't know if he wanted to say something. Okay. Thank you. Also, I wanted to get in order. The questions are the nominees. The first person to have a question will be the vice chair of this committee, Burnett, Council Burnett. Then it'll be Councilwoman Cohen. Members.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Are you breaking up? Can everyone hear him? Mr. Chair?
No.
No, he's breaking up in my transmission.
Yes.
It's something about a bandwidth. They keep sending signal, but I can't read it all because it disappears.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Am I clear now?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay. Well, let me go back real quick. After each nominee has spoken and the committee members have questions or comments, I will be asking, is there any public testimony for each of the nominees? And in the order, the questions will be the vice chair of this committee, Councilman Burnett, will be the first question. The second will be Councilwoman Clark. The third person will be Councilman Cohen and Councilman Schleifer. So again, Ms. Kimberly Gray, can y'all hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Well, again, Kimberly Gray has been rescheduled. So we are going to disability. And the first nominee is Carrie Davis. And Ms. Davis, an interest in the position and share your vision for the commission. So you may. Carrie Davis. Is Carrie Davis on?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Mr. Davis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fine. And everybody else on the committee, can y'all hear Mr. Davis? Okay, thank you. Well, you may, did you hear what I said in terms of state your name, tell us about your background, interest in the position, and share your vision for the commission?
You just cut out. I couldn't hear the last part.
Share your vision for the commission.
Yes, my name is Kari Davis. My background, I'm a business owner. I own mental health facility as well as a laboratory, a urine drug screen laboratory. Recently, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and now I currently live here in Maryland for about 15 years. So my vision for the commission is pretty much to get involved with all aspects, specifically with mental health and handicap, just to be able to make a difference and bring awareness. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out also.
Okay, sorry about that.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, can you hear me? Mr. Chair?
I can't hear anything.
There we go, because I was off of mute, but somebody was on me. So Marguerite, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can
Yes,
everybody
Mr.
else on
Chair.
the committee hear me? Okay, thank you. You can go ahead, Mr. Davis, sorry.
Which part did the last part that you heard? You're on mute right now.
Well, you are a business person. You have two different businesses, and
Correct.
then you were talking about the role you see on the Commission on Disabilities.
Yes, correct. The role I see in terms of the Commission of Disability is being able to be involved actively within the community, and then as well to make a difference with not only the disability part, but also with the mental health awareness, which is my expertise.
Hey, Mr. Davis, have you finished?
Yes.
Okay. The first question is going to come from Councilman Burnett, if you have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't have any questions. Just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Davis, and to all the nominees for stepping up to serve. These boards and commissions are a very thankless job, but very important and vital to moving very important issues in our city forward. So I just want to thank you for all that you've done and can continue to do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Clark, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, I do, if I may. Mr. Davis, I'm Mary Pat Clark. I read over your resume, and I had a question of what you do. A lot of different things,
Yeah.
and yes, so you have your own. You are CEO and owner of a lab, which is for clinicians and healthcare professionals, right?
Yes, we provide a service.
This is a Merrill Tox. No, that was before. So you own, it's called Furnace Labs of Maryland?
Yes, ma'am. It's right there in Beltsville, Maryland.
Okay, so I mean you've done a lot of things, and you do a lot of things. You do you work in a recovery residential facility?
No, I'm actually co-owners of that. It's RAK Advanced Therapeutic. That's the mental health. That's the mental health piece that I was referring to.
And people live there who are undergoing treatment? No?
Yeah, so the way it works is we provide housing for individuals that do not have housing.
I see.
So the only stipulation is that they have to go through the IOP program, which is the intensive outpatient.
Okay.
So as long as they are actively cooperating and participating within the program, then we allow them to be able to stay there at the housing.
Okay. So that's the housing component. You help people who become patients. You help them make sure that they have housing.
Yes, ma'am. If they need it.
If they need it.
Correct.
And if they are enrolled and faithful to the program that's been prescribed.
Exactly. Yes,
And
ma'am.
then you have, one of your activities, you have prescription pain monitoring protocols that I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are you involved in pain medicine in your work and prescribe it? You're not a doctor, but
No.
what is that part of your career about? How can it help when you're a member of this commission? How will that contribute to, the knowledge and the ability of the commission itself?
Sure. Sure. I just want to make clarification. In regards to the pain management, those are
Yeah.
those are actively our clients, our customers, if you will. So with the urine drug screen piece is we're providing a service to providers and other clinicians. So within that scope, our clients are internal medicine doctors, pain management physicians, as well as the drug rehabilitation places. So that's where the pain management aspect will come into play within pain management physicians. But that corresponds with the laboratory piece, which is the urine drug screen.
Okay, let me just ask you my question.
Okay.
It is, you're not in the business of promoting pain medicine to physicians.
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's
No.
real. I was
Yeah.
trying to
We don't
pick
promote
out.
any pain medications or anything. I'm not a physician.
You're not in that. You're just
No, ma'am.
with patients and professionals and trying to bring everything together for especially people with mental health problems.
Correct. And what we see too along the lines is everything is pretty much full circle, correct? So with the urine drug screen piece, a lot of our clients, unfortunately, falls into the drug rehabilitation
Right, exactly.
aspect. So which caused me to be able to start a company with my other two partners to be able to help solve the pandemic, I should say, with the need for opioids and everything, opioid abuse. So that's one of the reasons why we actually got into the mental health and the drug abuse aspects of things, just because we wanted to be able to make a difference, because I was able to see that on the laboratory side of things, as well as my previous position with Ameritox. That's who I actually worked, which was a urine drug screen company.
You were a sales consultant when you worked there.
Correct.
But you're telling us that nothing that you're doing is promoting pain medicine in any place, but helping to mitigate its effects and its addictive possibilities.
Yes. I'm not promoting. In fact, that's just the opposite of what I'm trying to do.
Well, that's exactly why I asked you, because you have a very impressive resume, but on it you were at one point, not now, with Ameritox. It says that you're a senior sales consultant and sales rep. So I just wanted to make sure that was before. That's not now.
Yeah, that was all before.
Wanted to make sure of.
So my experience with Ameritox, and they were actually located right there on Lombard Street. So I actually came to the city because I had a job with Ameritox. Then during my time with relationships within the community, and that's how pretty much Firmus Labs got started, was myself and a couple other physicians. Started Firmus Labs. So everything corresponds with each other, and God was just taking me through a track, if you will, because I was able to get the experience with Ameritox, and then after I left Ameritox, then that's when I formed Firmus Labs.
Right.
Then from Firmus Labs, because there was a need for it, then that's when I developed REK, Advanced Therapeutic Solutions, which is the IOP program, and that's located right there on York Avenue.
Thank you.
Can we
Thank
wrap this up a little bit,
That's
Councilwoman?
I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thanks, Ms. Clark.
My
Yes, thank you, sir.
question is, where is your business located, and how long have you been there?
So the Firmus Labs is located right there in Beltsville, Maryland, right there on Virginia Manor Road. And that's been in existence for about 7 or 8 years, give or take. And then with Advanced Therapeutics, or REK, Advanced Therapeutic Solutions, we just got credentialed, about 3 years ago through the CARF accreditation. And that's located right there on York Road. And it's part of a church too, as well. One of my partners, his dad is pastor of the church, so he allowed us to rent out the bottom piece.
So you do have a satellite location in Baltimore City, you said?
Yes, we do. Yep, yes. That's the residential piece as well for REK.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Cohen, you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Davis, for your willingness to serve on this commission. You mentioned in your introductory remarks that you want to spread conversations around mental health, or that you saw that as part of the work you would do on this commission. Could you expand or elaborate on that? It's a topic I'm interested in and sort of thinking through as a city. How do we have more of a robust conversation around mental health?
Sure.
So could you share a little bit more about your thoughts there?
Yes, my experience with the mental health aspect is a lot of times it's underlying disability that's associated with that. And when my first time actually participating in the Commission of Disability, I noticed that there was definitely a need for that conversation and then the education awareness piece with that. And I believe I spoke with a young lady, I forget her name now. She just indicated that there wasn't that component on the Commission of Disability aspect, and that would be a great segue to be able to bring awareness and bring knowledge. I don't know how that would work in regards to the commission and the vision of that, but that's one of the aspects that I'm interested in, because a lot of times I do, as I mentioned before, I see a correlation between it's more of a mental disability than a physical disability.
Okay. And so what on the commission would you do in terms of that information and knowledge about mental disability?
Well, that's the part that I'm trying to make a connection to and get more of an understanding of what aspect or what role I can play within that piece. That I can't explain. I don't know, just because I don't know what the need is within the commission. I know that there is a need for that, but I don't know like how to attack it. I have to pretty much establish a game plan and bring attention to that and just see if that works.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Is Councilman Schleifer in attendance? Is Councilman Schleifer in attendance?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any public testimony?
May I speak? My name is
What?
May I speak? My name is Sharonda Huffman.
Hey.
I'm the Accessibility and Compliance Coordinator with the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities.
How you doing?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, my name is Sharonda Huffman.
Okay, Ms.
I'm
Huffman.
the Accessibility and Compliance Coordinator with the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities in the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. And I just wanted to comment on what what Councilman Cohen said. I am for the last year and a half, I've helped manage the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, and we're in the process of redeveloping. And what I found is that there has not been a strong component of mental health. So just last month, the commission had celebrated Mental Health Awareness Month, and we did have someone from NAMI. And I'm hoping that Mr. Davis can add his expertise so we can have a robust outreach for mental health and awareness. That is something that's very, very important to many members or future members on the commission. So I'm hoping that with his help, the commission can redevelop itself. They're in the process. We need to update our bylaws and all of those things. So we're hoping that his expertise can help us in that way.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, before you go on, you have several representatives from the civil rights on the panel, and I don't know if you want to acknowledge them or they have something else to say in addition to Ms. Huffman.
You can go ahead, but I don't have that in front of me. It's not on my screen, so I didn't see it. So if you can, Mr. Long, if you want to go ahead and acknowledge, you can. I don't see it, so I don't know who actually is there.
Okay, there's like Mr. McCray and I believe Michelle Masters. Do you all have anything to say on behalf of the nominees?
Good morning, Cedric McCray, Office of Equity and Civil Rights Deputy Director. Just wanted to say thank you to all the individuals that have applied, and we are working actively to fill out the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, and this is something Ms. Huffman has been very passionate about in her time here, and we're just trying to get it up and running and at full strength. And once again, we've had interactions with all of the candidates, and they've toughed it out. It's been a process, hasn't been quick, but we believe that they are the right individuals to assist us in taking the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities to the next level. So I just want to say thank you, and we look forward to them joining the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCray.
Thank you.
Any more comments from anybody from the Mayor's Office on Disability? Okay, thank you. Our next nominee is Adam Levine. And Mr. Levine, tell us about your background and share your vision for the commission.
Thank you, Committee Chair, Mr. Stokes. Good morning, committee members and other attendees. My name is Adam Levine. My family came to Baltimore in 1970. I graduated from public schools, including Baltimore City College, in 1986, Baltimore City College. I graduated from college in 1990, and then I took a year and worked for Delegate Sandy Rosenberg in the General Assembly. Then I went to law school at the University of Maryland at Baltimore and graduated in 1994. I became a member of the bar in December 1994. I joined the city solicitor's office in 1996, and I've been there ever since. I've done a variety of things. I think in the last several years, I've done a lot of cases relating to zoning, and issues of disability come up quite frequently there. I guess my vision for the commission, I jotted down a few notes. Although in 2018, the city enacted the Equity Assessment Program law, although disability is not a category in that law, nevertheless, I think disability concerns the same kinds of issues of equity that program was intended to address. And I think that's how I see the commission's role is to improve the equitable treatment in Baltimore City of those who have disabilities. I think we have in the past attempted to do that in a number of ways. I sit on the legislative committee, for instance, and we provide advice with regard to bills going before the General Assembly each legislative session. We've commented on a number of civil rights bills in the last several years. I have actually been on the commission since 2014. We have seen in the commission that some of the obstacles facing those with disabilities relate to public transportation, for instance, the MTA's mobility link, and so we have a transportation committee, and we've attempted to deal with that. We have also seen issues relating to accessibility in terms of public streets and public programs. I will say that one of the cases I dealt with in my role as in the city solicitor's office was making Silburn Arboretum accessible. And so we were able to put in a accessible natural trail within the trails of Silburn Arboretum. I guess from my point of view, I can assist by bringing some of my legal background to the commission so that I can provide advice with regard to technical issues that may come up that our city agencies may face and that may come to the commission for questions. So I'd be happy to take any questions that the committee or the public has. Thank you.
Councilman Burnett, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Clark, do you have any questions or comments?
Just some comments. I've worked with Mr. Levine on several issues in his work in the city solicitor's office, and I think he brings a lot of great, well, commitment, first of all, to the city and to the people who live here. He lives in my district, which is an added point in his favor, of course. But more than that, I've worked back and forth with Mr. Levine on a lot of complicated issues that were complicated for me, about land use and about zoning, that he has been extremely helpful about and very faithful in helping me along step by step in understanding certain things that are just confusing to me. And I appreciate that kind of attitude. And I think he'll, just as Mr. Davis, I think brings great organizational skills to a re-upping kind of commission. I think that Mr. Levine brings a lot of legislative insights, and I think the commission will find themselves traveling to Annapolis more than they expected, and that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Core, do you have any questions or comments?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And understand that Councilman Slifer is still not here on this virtual. Okay. Ms. Marguerite, is there any public testimony? And if it is,
Councilman, excuse me, Mr. Chair, we have one person listed as a call-in, and I didn't know whether you wanted me to see if that person wants to testify now or near the end of the nomination.
Let's
Did you want now? Okay, hold on.
Yes.
Hi, I believe I'm the call-in person. I'm actually on the WebEx call. This is Michelle Masters with the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. I'm only calling in because my computer does not have a working speaker. However, I'm just here to support the nominees of the commission, and just again to echo what Mr. McCray already said, and thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. McCray, you have any comments? Mayor's office.
Yes, sir. Specifically relating to Mr. Levine, he and I have had the opportunity to work together and get to know each other while serving on the commission. I think he brings a very valuable asset as it relates to the legislative component that he just shared during his comments, and we look forward to working with him in the future.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Levine. Our next nominee is for the Ethics Board, Arnold Sampson. Mr. Sampson, I'm sorry. If you can state your name, tell us about your background, tell us about your background and interest in the position, and share your vision for the commission.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Councilman and Councilwoman. My name is Arnold Sampson. First, let me confirm that everyone can hear me. Can you put a nod or something? Perfect. Thank you, Councilwoman Clark. My name is Arnold Sampson. I'm a lifetime Baltimorean. I was educated in Baltimore schools, the most exciting of which was number 132, Coppin Demonstration School. And I didn't know, because I was a little child, that Coppin State Teachers College was on the 3rd floor of the school. I had no clue. All I knew was periodically very intelligent, enlightening people would come, students would come down. I didn't know they were students, would come down and augment what the teacher was doing. So we had an incredible teacher-student ratio. It was very small, and we got a great education. Years and years later, I discovered that it was the closest thing to a private school that you could get in a public school. In fact, you had to be on a waiting list sometimes to get in. Anyway, I finished there, went to Pimlico Junior High School when it first opened up. I stayed there for 2 years, and then I went to 181. At the end of 181, because my grades were good and I'd gotten such a good background from Pimlico, my counselor said, "Do you want to go to City or do you want to go to Poly?" And I said, let me think. Oh, I know, Douglas. Great decision. Great, oh my God, great decision. I was on the track team, I was on the rifle team. Again, it's funny how things can be right in your face and you don't know it. I had no clue that Douglas was the only Black school that had a rifle team that competed with live ammunition. We competed against McDonough, City, Poly, Southern, Mervo, and probably a couple others, but those I'm sure of. Time kind of fades from things. From Douglas, I went to Morgan. I had a couple scholarships. I guess I read well, so I scored high on the verbal part of the exam. And so I did 4 years at Morgan. I was a psychology major there. I was also an ROTC. And when I finished Morgan 4 years later, 4 years after I began it, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Medical Service Corps. I went to Howard University to begin some work graduate work in psychology. I completed all the coursework in a year, which is unheard of. I now realize it wasn't because I was so smart. It was because I was grieving my father's death in my junior year. I didn't know that was what was going on, empowering me. I guess I was sort of like a little zombie, but I did all the coursework, did not finish my thesis. So I ended up stopping after the year. I went to work for Westinghouse Learning Corporation, which was trying to provide job training in the inner city of Baltimore. Realizing that I wanted to get a little different job, realizing the doors were closed because I had a 2-year military obligation in front of me. I asked for orders reported to duty in 1968. And typically, brand new second lieutenants are given 2 months of orientation in the branch that they're assigned to. During those 2 months, they showed my class of new lieutenants a film about medical evacuation helicopters. And I'll call the call sign as Dust Off. And I was fascinated. And at the end of that film, the instructor said, "Who wants to volunteer for flight training?" Well, I would speculate that out of the 23, 24 officers, probably 12 hands went up. But when it was all said and done, 6 of us were picked. And we started flight training in Fort Walters. And for the first half of flight training, the second half, the advanced half, was either at Alabama, Fort Rucker, or in Savannah, Georgia. I went to Georgia because it seemed. I went to Savannah because it felt safer to me. And for following flight school, I went to Vietnam for a year. And about when I finished my military service, which went from a 2-year obligation to a 4-year obligation, I eventually I took real estate training. I think I became a licensee in around 1973. In real estate, we are regularly required to be reminded of and grounded in ethics. And so because real estate is a profession where if you are unethical, you can hurt the profession, you can hurt your colleagues, and you can hurt the public. So we're constantly asked to remind ourselves of what the ethical limitations are. I eventually became a mediator. I trained to be a mediator, and I did it at the community mediation program that some people here present may know about. I've been a mediator since 1997. In mediation, I eventually began to work for the circuit court for Baltimore City, Howard County, and Anne Arundel County. And the requirement of working for the courts is that we be exposed to 4 hours of ethics during the year. Make a long story short, I've had casual and serious exposures to ethics for a very long time. And when I was asked if I would consider filling a slot on the ethics board, I saw it as an opportunity to engage in public service. It was something way bigger than jury duty, way more important. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to serve. I think that I owe Baltimore City because of the splendid education it gave me in the schools that I mentioned to you. I would like to, in terms of my vision for the board, I'm not sure where I saw it, but I did see the chairperson of the board testifying before the city council and asking for financial and staff support. I thought she was eloquent. I thought it was poignant because she said our surrounding jurisdictions all provide a budget for their ethics entities, but Baltimore City does not have a budget nor a dedicated staff. It's shared staff with the staff of the legislative reference section. I gather that the city council has responded favorably to that and has now assigned, it was in the process of trying to get the board into the office of the Inspector General, which seems to be a compatible place for it to go. I would love to be part of that transition if I'm selected. I would love to assist in maybe streamlining and making more effective the mandatory training that the Board of Ethics provides to new appointees and decision makers about ethics. We've had a number of problems that in the city, and I think that the Ethics Board can heighten the quality of life of Baltimore City residents by convincing them that when decisions are made, they're being made for the right reason. with the right motives. I think that's really important. And so I'd like to take part in that process. I think that if I bring anything to the board, it's my maturity, my ego control. I have no more to prove. I don't aspire to political office. I was kind of embarrassed when Mr. Levine talked about how he finished one of several educational institutions in 1990. I'm thinking, oh my God, because I finished sometime earlier. So he just aged me, but that was all good. His education was splendid. By the way, I did get my master's degree in psychology. I have a BS in psychology and a master's degree in psychology, Master of Science. I got that from Howard University. I would welcome a chance to assist the board however they can utilize my energy, my time. By the way, I am a licensed private investigator and have been for a number of years. I do it, when called upon. I have also worked as an Army officer. The Army will give officers additional duties as needed, and one of them that I have fulfilled in both Vietnam and stateside is the role of Article 32 investigating officer. So it has helped me perhaps sharpen my investigatory skills. I don't want to overtalk it. I want to shut up so that I won't talk so long that there's no time to ask me good questions, good solid questions. So I thank you for your ears and would welcome any question that you have for me. And please let everybody speak. I'm sorry, pardon me, sir. Councilman Stokes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm saying.
We can't hear you, Mr. Chair.
Have we lost the chair? Chair, you want
some connection issues. Let's maybe give them a couple more seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. Chair, so it looks like you're having some connection issues. We'll wait for you to jump back on. I didn't have any questions, but Councilmember Clark, did you have a question? I think you're on mute.
I have a comment. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Mr. Sampson? Well, first of all, I have rarely seen a resume as impressive and diverse as this in my entire life. And I've seen a lot of resumes, and it's wonderful. And I'm so excited and pleased, Mr. Sampson, that you're going to take in and on the ethics board, because you're right. It's been an orphan child that the Department of Legislative Reference has worked very hard to keep up to date and to be responsive about, but it's finally getting its own quarters in the Inspector General's office, and I think staffing, and I think you'll be such a great addition. And I'm just so impressed with all that you've mastered and learned, and how curious your mind must be to have done so many things. Really, and how welcome you are to come in to help a revitalized ethics board, which has been kind of pushed from pillar to post all these years. But now is the hour in our history and in the nation's history when what could be more important for us all than to make sure we're operating transparently and ethically, not in ways the public can check on. And now you're coming at just the right moment. And I have to mention, sir, I mean, of all the things you do, I think the committee knows this, but I just have to say, I mean, you were a medical, what do they call it? A medical evacuation helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and you walked away or flew away with a Distinguished Flying Cross, Purple Heart with Oak Leaf, a cluster, Vietnamese Gallantry Cross with Silver Star for Valor, etc., etc., etc. Thank you so much for your service to your country, and now, and since then, to our city and state, and now to our Ethics Commission as it gets itself together and begins to play a major role in the way we do business here in Baltimore City. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Clark. Councilman Cohen, do you have any questions for Mr. Sampson?
Want to, again, thank you for your willingness to serve. Echo my colleague and mentor from the 14th, Mary Pat Clark. Very extensive and impressive resume, and appreciate that you're willing to do it. I'll be honest, I was intrigued by your commentary on Frederick Douglass High School. Knowing something of the very proud history and legacy of that school as the second African-American high school in the country, as the most recently, we were there to sign a bill, the Elijah Cummings Healing City Act, after some students from Douglass testified about the impact of trauma on their lives. Was wondering if you could talk a little bit more just about that experience of being a graduate of Douglass and how it informs your thinking about Baltimore today.
Mr. Sampson, you are muted. We gotta unmute you.
We'll do that. Forgive me. I think that if I was muted, that means Councilwoman Clark did not hear me thank her for her comments, her kind comments. And thank you very much, Councilwoman. And Councilman Cohen, the decision to go to Douglass was so smart. I did not have a clue that the caliber of people that I would encounter there at Douglass. I kind of thought I would go there and maybe get a cakewalk. Well, I was in a class where there were maybe 20 super smart young ladies and 5 guys. And the women were incredible. It was 10B1. And 2 weeks in, when I was so scratching my head saying, how come we're getting so much homework? Why is this so hard? The homeroom teacher closed the door and said, let me tell you all something. You thought you were coming here for an easy ride. We're going to challenge you. We want you to succeed and to excel. And so we're going to give you things that really bring out your strengths and increase your strengths. Well, bottom line is, one of the major people that I met at Douglass was a guy named Sidney Carter. He called him Big Sid. He happened to be the coach for the track team, where I eventually excelled. I was a sprinter, 100 and 220, and he was a coach for the rifle team. Again, it took 40 years for me to, talking to one of my colleagues on the team, to realize that we were the only ones who had real rifles of the black schools. There were 3 black schools, Douglass, Carver, and Dunbar, period. And so we had no idea that we were the only ones. We didn't think of it that way. We were so busy doing what we were doing. The teachers at Douglas were dedicated to trying to develop the best citizens, the best students they could generate, could develop, could mold. And I think they did a superb job. Here's a twist, and I don't want to overtalk it, but years later, I'm channel surfing on HBO and see something that said hard times at Douglas High School. And I thought, oh, that's probably the Douglas High School out in Denver, Colorado or someplace. So I stopped to look at it for a minute, and lo and behold, it was the same Douglas I had gone to. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, I gotta help. I mean, I was watching the series unfold, and I guess in 3 minutes, I said, I've gotta help. I'm gonna go back there and help. 5 minutes later, I hate to say it, but the cameraman showed a guy in a fist fight with closed fists with 4 women, 4 young female students. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, what in the world? That's not even from this planet. I mean, that was the value that we did not have when I was there. It was just a different school. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I can help them. Well, eventually I did go back. I went back with a guy who was a world-class sprinter, a guy who was an inventor, a fellow named Dr. Silburn Soden, who was a dermatologist and a retired Army colonel, and a guy who was a writer and named Joe Pons. And we spoke to students to try to say to them, basically, if we are here talking to you, if we've done what we've done, then you can do the same thing. To try to say, we're no different from you. You have the right, you're in the right place, and you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish without limitation. It was I'm a Morgan grad, and my peers from Morgan love themselves some Morgan. They just love Morgan. And I'm a member of the Alumni Association, but I'm telling you, the school that I give most credit to is Douglas High School. That's where I think I flourished the best, and it was the best experience for me. Morgan was fine. I pledged a fraternity there. I excelled in ROTC because, in fact, I was the rifle team captain at Morgan when we won the CIAA championship in 1965 for the first time. I got commissioned from Morgan, loved it, but Douglas was the spot. So Councilman Cohen, I thought Douglas was incredible. It did go through some hard times. Hopefully it will now flourish and spread its wings again and be the model for other schools in time that it should be.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Burnett, thank you very much. You had some audio. Thanks a lot. I guess Councilman Schleifer is still on this call. Marguerite, is there any public?
May I, Councilman Stokes, may I make one comment? I live in Councilman Schleifer's district. I live at 6210 Park Heights Avenue in the Strathmore Towers condo. So it's the Glen is the community. It's just short of Pikesville, but we're in the city. I'm a city resident and love it. I love this place. And I want Baltimore City to be the best place to live that we can conceive of or craft, and the safest place and the most logical place. So I'm certainly willing to serve and do whatever I can to try to bring that about. Thank you for the comment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before I turn Ms. Masters, I'm going to see if any of the panelists here would like to say anything. Mr. McCray, Ms. Huffman.
This is for the Ethics Commission, not the Disabilities.
That's correct. Ms. Masters, do you have anything you would like to say? Michelle Masters. Okay. Mr. Chair, that concludes testimony, public testimony.
Thank you very much. Again, Mr. Kim Gray has been rescheduled. So I want to go ahead. Is there a motion to recommend Canary Davis to the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Okay. Motion made by Councilwoman Clark, second by Councilman Burnett. Councilman Stokes is a yes. Councilman Burnett?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
Is Councilman Schleifer absent?
That's correct.
Councilman Schleifer? Thank you very much. Is there a motion to Adam Levine to the Mayor's Office of Disabilities?
I can't unmute myself.
Is there a motion to recommend Adam Levine to Mayor's Office on Disabilities? The motion. Hello?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I couldn't unmute myself. I make the
There's
motion.
a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Burnett, second by Councilman Clark. Thank y'all very much. Councilman Stokes is a yes. Councilman Burnett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councilman Schleifer is absent.
He's still gone. Yes.
There's a motion to recommend Arnold Sampson to the Ethics Board.
I make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Second the motion.
Motion made by Councilman Burnett, second by Councilwoman Clark. Councilman Stokes is a yes. Councilman Burnett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
And Councilman Schleifer is absent. The motion has passed. The committee recommends a table for the nominees. The nominees will be placed on second reader on Monday, July the 2nd. Can somebody,
What?
somebody have to mute, that's a bird.
What?
Okay. Thank you. The motion passed. The committee will recommend a fair report for the nominees. The nomination will be placed on second reader on Monday, July 6, 2020, while the second reader for council review and take a vote on this at that time. On behalf of the mayor and the city council of Baltimore, I would like to thank you for your willingness to give to this time and efforts to serve the citizens of Baltimore. If there's no other business, committee is now adjourned, and congratulations to all the nominees.
Thank you.